We're fighting a battle, we're singing the same song, trying to find someone who cares as much as we do. We're climbing the ladder, while we're sinking in this boat, trying to find someone who cares.
Okay, welcome back to Babble, Scribbler, the vaguely podcast-ish show where we talk about My Little Pony things. Today I have with me PresentPerfect. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. And we're going to talk about fic reviewing. So, PresentPerfect is well known for his reviews on fanfiction, his highly opinionated opinions. That is an entirely bad way of describing that. Yeah, my powers of description have deserted me. So I'm going to hand over to you, and you're going to explain who you are and why you're here.
Okay, well, my name is PresentPerfect, and I primarily consider myself to be a fanfic writer, but nowadays no one really comes here for the fanfics that I've written. They come here for the fanfics that I've read. I started actually reviewing fics in May of 2013. Before that, I had posted a bunch of, like a couple dozen, just signal boosting. Hey, this story's cool, I read it, you guys should go read it too.
Like rec views.
Yeah, there was stuff like that. And then, actually back in October of 2012, I did a blog titled PresentPerfect versus Rainbow Factory. I read Rainbow Factory, and I'm like, this is a really well-known story, and I'm not planning on liking it because it's really grimdark, so I'm going to, rip it to shreds and let people know what I thought about it. And I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5, and people were like, this story's terrible! You should not have done that! And so I dropped it down to a 3.
Oh, you were cowed by the masses.
Well, to be perfectly honest, it wasn't so much this is a good story as I liked it more than I expected to. Then I decided to start, writing down every story that I read because, to be perfectly honest, I read a lot of stories and I like talking about fan fiction with people, and I can't always remember what my opinion on a story is. I mean, if it's been 2 years, I don't remember that thing.
Because you've been in the fandom a very long time, haven't you? You've been it since the beginning, I think.
Not quite. I started in April of 2011 is when I officially joined the fandom.
That's really not far from the beginning of actual fandom.
No, it's not. That was in season 1. The first episode I saw on TV was Over a Barrel. So right at the end of season 1.
I would call that pretty bloody early in the fandom. Because you're also a pre-reader, aren't you?
Yeah, a pre-read for EQD. I am part of the Royal Candlelight Library. I was part of what the heck was that called? The Last Roundup?
Yes.
Which was a thing on FimFiction for like 2 months. We tried.
Yeah, it appears you've tried quite a lot. I'm slightly staggered because I didn't realise you were in quite so many things. I'm really glad I invited you on now. Because I'm highly opinionated, as people probably know from various different blurbs and places where I've vented opinions, but you're highly opinionated and well practised at being witty about it.
I'm certainly practiced at being opinionated, though, because I started reviewing music back in like 2008, and I'm still doing that, although not as frequently as I used to. But it's all because I have a lot of opinions on stuff, and I like sharing my opinions with other people, and I can't remember what my opinions are if I don't write them down.
All of which makes you the perfect fanfic reviewer, really. Well, that's kind of accounts for your name, PresentPerfect. You can't remember anything except the present, and you're a perfect fanfic reviewer.
You're terrible. I love it.
There we go, confirmed for canon backstory.
No.
Right, so, if we're talking about fic reviews, it's a pretty self-explanatory concept. It is the act of reviewing and saying what did and didn't work about particular fanfics. And you start off with Rainbow Factory, which is quite a well-known one. Mm-hmm. Impressive that you started with Grimdark, although I can't say much else, because I used to do, very, very long time ago, in the dim and distant days of 2004, when I was on LiveJournal, and LiveJournal was the... Yeah, I'm friggin' old, I am.
I used to do LiveJournal, too.
You shall join me, and we shall be old farts together.
No, I haven't touched it in like a decade now, I don't think.
That would mean you were on it for less than a year, you lightweight. But, I used to do, like, text reviews of various different fanfictions in different fandoms, because I'm Social Butterfly. I used to do it all the time. They're still there somewhere. I think I'm still... I can't even remember if I'm Scribbler or about Scribbler over there. But they're... Oh, God. Knocking over stuff. Yeah, they're still there somewhere. But they were various different fandoms, and I didn't stick to a particular fandom. And a lot of mine were recommendations rather than reviews. So I wasn't very good at being critical when it comes to fanfiction. I would consume anything and everything, and stuff that was crap I would forget about and never have an opinion on. Then came Heroic Review, which was Deadly Reg's baby, and that came as a result of, in the Heroic Tales Skype chat, we were having a text chat, and I posed this question like, what would you say is your favourite fanfic, and what was your least favourite fanfic? Fanfic. And why? Like, it's just one of those hypothetical questions. And Deadly Reg just went off on one completely about My Little Dashie. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I was stepping back from the laptop and going, whoa, boy, vitriol. He absolutely loathed that thing. I don't know if he still does today, in retrospect, considering all the other stuff that's in the fandom. But at that moment in time, he could not stand it. It was like, you got too close, it would burn off all your nasal hair. But, yeah, and we sort of started saying, well, shall we, have a discussion? It's like, yeah, we'll record this discussion and put it on Scribbler's channel. To which Scribbler said, shall we? Okay then, right. And somehow I started hosting a fanfiction review show that's very infrequent, because it takes so friggin' long to edit them. But, yeah, we started off with Grimdark as well. It seems to be the done thing that we started off with... Oh god, what was it now? No, I can't remember what it was. About Twilight. Alicorn Twilight going to Human World, and Horse Voice wrote it. And
Biblical Monsters.
That would be it, yes!
Yes.
I kept wanting to say Lost Angel, and that was only the name of the last chapter. But
Which
yeah,
I
we
would not
started
have
with that.
read when I did, if not for your reading of it.
Yeah, that thing. That thing where I didn't realise the narrator was male until halfway through going, shit. Male and Canadian!
And Canadian, yes.
Instead of female and badly phrased Cockney, which is what I'd gone for. Although I got something out of that, because now I voice Cockney Tavia for various different things. Yeah, it's an interesting story, that one that I'm not going to go into now, but basically, yes, there is a version of Octavia that speaks entirely in Cockney slang, and I seem to voice her a lot.
That's great.
But yeah, we kind of went on from there, and because I wasn't used to being critical, I didn't know what to say. And since then, it's been nearly 2 years, or 18 months or so, since that started. And since then, I've actually had people coming to me asking, I want to start doing fanfic reviews, would you give me any advice? To which I went, I don't even really know how to do it myself. So, passing over to you, what advice would you give someone who's starting off in fanfic reviews?
This question is very well timed, because someone actually did just ask me that a couple of weeks ago, and I posted a journal about it because I honestly hadn't given it any thought. There's people in the fandom like Chris, who is distinctly the #1 fanfic reviewer, and he is very thorough.
The blog, One Man's Pony Ramblings.
One Man's Pony Ramblings. And he's really thorough. He reads a lot of really good stories. He's extremely articulate about his opinion. Then there's people like me, and I mean, if people noticed my reviews, it's because I just shotgun them out constantly.
Yeah, it's once every 3 days or so, isn't it?
That's what I try for. Not right now so much, but I actually...
Once every week at least. I
posted one just today.
Yeah, I noticed. I got that open in another tab to go and look at. That's how I knew that you reviewed Newtalo's thing.
I think the main thing that came up as far as advice for reviewing goes is just be honest. If you didn't like something, explain why. If you did like something, explain why. I think it's also important to keep in mind who you're writing the review for. Because if you're on, there's a ton of editing and reviewing type groups on fanfiction. And those, you want to be pointing out things like, hey, you have a problem with punctuation, your rarity is out of character, you need to space your paragraphs consistently. Things like that are useful for the writer. Whereas, I felt that the story I just read recently, I came into this looking for Flutterdash, and it turned into Twilestia halfway through, and then by the end of it, it was Twilestia saving the day, and I was just so disappointed. That's not useful for the writer so much as it is for readers who are looking to you to go, hey, is this thing worth reading? Is this worth wasting my time on?
See, I'm going to just intercede here and say, I really disagree with you on that, because I listened to that one at the same time. I listened to that one since it was being first put out, and I didn't mind the Twilestia, because I usually hate Twilestia, and I didn't mind it in that one because I found it believable, so...
It wasn't as bad because it was Celestia starting it, but then you could also say that she should really know better.
Yeah, that was the point that she did say in it, and Luna did say at one point, she knows that she should know better, that's why she's not pushing it.
I've definitely read worse Twilestia. Anyway.
I know you have, because you've reviewed Klopp.
Yes.
And everybody should just go and look at his fanfiction page to find that, because I'm not fucking putting it out. I'm not flagging that one up. You can go and comb through and read the good reviews for the non-cloppy fiction. But yeah, interestingly enough, Thornquill is going to come on this Babble Scribbler and talk about Lost and Found at some point. So
Oh, cool.
this will be interesting to hear your opinion of it, and then later on hear his opinion of it, because he was highly motivated to read that one.
He's a cool guy.
He is a very, very cool guy.
Okay, what were we talking about?
We're talking about fanfic reviews, which is how we got onto that. One thing I would add is something that only I learned sort of by making mistakes, because the style of fanfic reviewing that I do is verbal, in discussion in a panel with other people. It's not like the early days where I used to do text reviews or text recommendations. So you have sort of more thought and more time to phrase yourself in a text review.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas very much in a panel, it's very off the cuff. That we have notes beforehand, or some people have notes beforehand. Like Reverb Brony, whenever he is in a panel with the fanfic readers, he always brings copious notes, and Webshotter as well. They always have listened to a fic or read a fic that we're going to review multiple times and written down lots of the points that they want to make. And it's almost competitive being in there. To make intelligent comments about a fanfiction, which is about small pastel horses.
That's very hard to do.
It really is. And sometimes it will happen just, on its own. Generally when we generate discussion, it happens. We debate. I've had my opinion changed on fics like multiple times by being in those reviews. I've loved them going in and hated them coming out, or I've hated them going in and I've quite enjoyed them coming out. Like, March the Scaffold, I hated that one. I absolutely loathed and despised it, which was ironic because it was my choice to review. By the end, I actually could appreciate certain aspects of it.
Really?
By the same token, Puppet to Her Fame, I didn't mind that one going in. I'd done a reading of it, and I was mid-edit when we reviewed that one. And by the end of it, I'd had my mind completely changed. They're going, no! Oh, okay, crap, I've still got half a fic to do. Damn it! This thing is going to be 3 hours long. I've half of it done, and I don't like it anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I guess the lesson there is don't review things while you're in the middle of editing them.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't recommend that. Although I did it again. For the next heroic review that comes out, I'm still in the middle of editing that fic as well. So I haven't learned from my mistakes. But the other mistake I was actually talking about, which I've gone off on a tangent about, was because it's really competitive in that verbal atmosphere, and because, quite frankly, a lot of people in Hero Review are like really scarily intelligent. I mean, Deadly Reg and Brain by Saucepans. Yeah, they're the kind of people who can just fire off a quip, and it's so witty, but deadpanned. And you're in tears on the floor laughing and then thinking, I can't compete with that. So because of that, there was this sort of competitive edge. And when we started, I was constantly trying to make witty comments about the fics we were doing. So whatever comments we made, I was trying to sort of out-witicize them, if that's a verb. And I came a cropper with this quite spectacularly, that we reviewed one called Head in the Clouds, which universally we didn't like, apart from Goombasa, who suggested it, who unfortunately his connection dropped out halfway through.
Wait, that's not my Head in the Clouds, is it?
It's a different Head in the Clouds. Yours is much better, darling.
Sad face.
No, it was one by somebody called, what's his name? I would have to look that one up. It was by a particular author who had written it as part of a contest, and it was a fluffy twidash.
Oh.
And that would seem to be fine, except that it wasn't particularly well written, which kind of made it an easy target, like fish in a barrel. You could pick on loads of things with this.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to be really witty with that, I ended up actually being really cruel and quite insulting. And it was only when the author and his friend got in touch and made these comments, some of which were just plain butthurt because we hadn't liked the fic. Some of them had made really quite intelligent, critical comments about it. But they did pick up on the fact that we had been so busy trying to be entertaining that we'd forgotten there was a person whose feelings were going to be hurt by that. And
yes.
We sort of crossed the line from criticising and being critical, but being positive criticism, and then just ripping something to shreds for the sake of ripping it to shreds and laughing about it. And I'm actually making it sound worse than it was. We weren't like completely over the top, but there were one or two times where listening back to it, I kind of went, "Ooh, yeah, that was a bit below the belt."
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you really want to avoid, and I've done that with MLP fics, and I've really tried to move away from it because especially now, after the bookshelves were made on Fanfiction, I created one to contain everything that I had reviewed. And so every time I post a new blog, I will open up all the stories, I will add them all to the reviewed shelf, and that shelf is public, so the authors know, I've reviewed your fic. And I've even started, because like today I posted a story that was on Equestria Daily only. So I actually went there and left a comment saying, hey, I reviewed your fic. Now granted, I know the author, so I don't think she'll be too upset about that, plus I like the story. But, I try and keep in mind that while I'm recommending things based on, do I think people should read this? Who do I think should read this? At the same time, even if it's a bad story, I want to say something positive about it. Or if I can't say anything positive about it, I want to say something constructive about it. Yeah. And that goes double when I'm doing contests and events, because I'll usually take and post that, in the event thread. Hey guys, I reviewed all your stories. And if I have nothing good to say about it, if all I can say is the writing was bad, these are the ways that it was bad, I didn't like it, that's going to be crushing. Because a lot of these people are first-time writers. A lot of them are very young.
Yeah.
Some people have developmental disabilities, and they're trying to work through that and bring joy to other people and maybe just bring joy to themselves by writing these stories. And you have to be able to respect that. And I think it's possible to be funny while you're reviewing stories, but you shouldn't. Like your example, you shouldn't try and push that as your main thing. You need to be honest, and I think that being kind is kind of important too.
Yeah, I really wish I'd had that piece of advice when we started, because thankfully that review was only the third one we ever did, and we got better from that.
Yeah.
Or I remember making a conscious effort after that to always say something positive as well. But that was the turning point, I think, where I started to think less in terms of fic is a fic is a fic is a fic, and more fic is a thing that a person has written.
Yeah.
And the person on the other end of that deserves some credit for the act of having written it, unless it's a spite fic. Naming no names.
But I mean, I've even gotten to the point where I kind of feel bad about the lengthy lampooning of Fallout Equestria that I think is what got a lot of people reading my reviews, because that was honestly just me ripping the whole thing apart, despite the fact that I ended up enjoying large sections of it.
I think that one's long enough that it would be impossible to dislike everything and still make it to the end. There has to have been something in there to tempt you through it. I actually genuinely have never read Fallout Equestria all the way through, so I'm not qualified to comment on that.
I mean, I love the setting, I loved a couple of the characters. There were large parts of it and certain techniques used in the story, like like Little Pip getting addicted to drugs, that I thought was just fantastic. And there were so many other things that I just thought were so awful. And I had a good time, just making fun of it. And I'm actually still making fun of it, but I'm doing that in a slightly more, writing things way.
Yeah, I think the main message, if anybody was going to take away from this little conversation, is balance is the key thing. That for every positive thing, for every negative thing you say, you've got to include a positive, or at least a constructive, like you said.
That's
and for everything you do, you can include a negative, because
that's a very good rule of thumb.
Nothing is perfect except for present perfect.
I'm not even that perfect.
In which case you just call present then.
I'm just really good at editing stories.
Right, okay. So, I think we've been talking for like 20 minutes now, so we're going to have to
I don't know, when did we start?
About 20 minutes ago. The Skype recorder showed 12, and now it's showing 32.
That was a quick 20 minutes.
It is, isn't it? It's funny when you get into things like this. So, are there any lasting words that you would like to leave with people, as goes with fic reading, or fic readings, not fic readings, fic reviews? I can't even get the words right. This is why I'm a shit reviewer.
I believe that if you want to do anything, you should be somewhat acquainted with it. So if you want to get into writing reviews, you should be reading reviews. And to start reading reviews, you should be reading One Man's Pony Ramblings. You can learn a lot from Chris. You should be reading City of Doors, which is hosted by Singularity Dream, because he has the grand master list of like 8,000 reviews that everyone has
multiple
done.
Different reviewers.
You can find people on that list that I don't even know about.
People who haven't posted reviews, people who only ever posted one review, and he found them somehow.
I'll also plug Logan Berry at Louder Yay. Soge is good, but he's not very prolific. And there's probably somebody else that I'm forgetting. I'm sorry, other person, I've forgotten
critical.
you.
I think Soge is probably the most critical reviewer I've ever read. Like, every single one of his fics that he's reviewed that I've recognised, because reviews, like, loads I haven't, but every single one that I've recognised, I think he's hated them all. and he's not shy about saying he hates them.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Titanium Dragon?
I might be. I'd have
because
to go
his thing is hating everything.
I didn't say he hated everything. Soge's liked some of the other stuff. It's just nothing I've recognised.
Oh, okay.
So clearly I am just reading shitty fiction all the time, which might account for why you very rarely like anything I ever do a reading of. I have noticed this trend.
At least A Fragile Heart was a good choice.
Yes.
A very good choice.
Yes. You're going to hate the next few.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Crackfic romances with incidental shipping.
That
loads of dark fic. You told me you hated that.
I like crackfics.
You absolutely hated incidental shipping when I did Angels at Christmas.
It depends.
Yeah, see. Fickle. You're so fickle.
Maybe we should have talked about shipping.
Maybe we should. Yeah, for those who didn't know, I actually originally suggested we talk about shipping, and he went, no, I don't know that much about it. But, Present Perfect, highly opinionated person.
I am.
So maybe
I have a lot of opinions about shipping.
Well,
I can
maybe
tell you
we'll
that.
have you back, and you can come and talk about shipping then. Then. Alright then, so we are going to have to wrap this up because I started to talk garbage, more so than usual. Okay, this has been Babble Scribbler podcast with Present Perfect. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.